You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chasing Chevy podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Stachiw from the Kulturecast, and I'm joined by my two good friends all the way from Norway. He's your friend and mine, Mark Begley.
You just watch your mouth, buddy.
And all the way from somewhere in Pakistan, Dr. Mike White.
Doctor.
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 Doctor. Doctor. And thus the funniest scene in the movie. On this episode of the Chasing Chevy podcast, we are talking about the 1985 comedy classic. If you could see me now, I'm putting classics in air quotations. Spies Like Us. So the film is directed by John Landis. I'm not going to say anything else about that. Screenplay by Dan Aykroyd, which makes a lot of sense. Lul Gans, and absolutely one of my favorite named human beings in the entire planet, Babaloo Mandel. The story is by Dan Aykroyd and Dave Thomas, and it stars the aforementioned Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, along with Donna Dixon, Bruce Davison, Bernie Casey for way too little. And the film is all about Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd playing two. One's an inept moron, the other one's Dan Aykroyd, and they're sent into the world as spies to be decoys for a real operation that is going on that is attempting to start World War III. Huh. Would that ever happen in real life, guys? Who knows? So, Mike, I'll kick it to you first. What did you think of this comedy gem, Spies Like Us? A true comedic classic in the vein of Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, Tennessee Williams, known for his comedies, especially Streetcar Named Desire.
That's what I've heard.
Yes, yes. I laughed at Cat on a Hot Tin Roof like nobody's business. Yeah, so I saw this one for the first time when I was probably in my mid-20s. I believe I heard a lot of people talking about how funny this movie is. There are scenes like the aforementioned doctor scene, which I still do quite a bit at work. Just when you pass people in the hallway, doctor, and then they say doctor back, and it's kind of a shared little secret there. But yeah, I don't remember enjoying it that much when I was in my mid-20s, and I'm not a huge fan. It's okay. It's okay. It's an okay comedy. It's not rip-roaring hilarious. It's not just groan-worthy. It's funny that they were making this in the style of the Road 2 movies with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, when they had just tried doing that with Ishtar a few years. It's actually, Ishtar comes after this, doesn't it? So Elaine May should have learned her lesson from this film, that Road 2 movies were kind of a done deal. And the comedy pairing of Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, yeah, worked pretty well. I would have been very curious to see how this would have gone had it been Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, as the original plan was. I still feel bad for Dave Thomas, who helped write this, and he wasn't involved at all. And eventually, I think his name still shows up as a story by credit, but
yes, it sure does.
Yeah, it does.
And just think, if Paul Hogan was in this movie, it would have been a crocodile done deal. but
it was wow.
You're
Stretch for that one. Yeah.
Well, I'm the stretch master, I've been told.
How about you, Mark? What's your memories of this one, and what'd you think?
I saw this. This is in the middle of this trilogy of chase movies that I saw in the theater. So I saw European Vacation in the theater, didn't care for it. Saw this one in the theater, didn't care for it. And the next one that we watch, I also saw in the theater. And then at that point, I was done with Chevy Chase.
Wow.
And
boy, folks, Mark Begley's excited to talk about the next one.
I come back around, though. I come back around. Trust me.
Yeah. I fucking hope so.
I started to question, actually, whether I had seen this in the theater when I was watching it the other day, because I remembered absolutely nothing except towards the end when Vanessa Angel comes out of the tent. I'm like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah, of course you would. That's a very memorable shot. Yeah. So they even put it in the Paul McCartney video.
Yeah. Honestly, I really, other than that, remembered zero about the film. I remember the snowy scenes, and I thought more of it took place there. Like the whole movie, I didn't remember anything about Morocco or wherever Morocco is supposed to be in the film. And like that whole doctor thing, I think I thought, I recall that I don't do it with people in my office, but I know that scene, and I was, as they were playing it out, I was like, has this been done elsewhere? Because I remember that gag, but I didn't remember it being from this movie. I remembered it being from a funnier film or something. So I don't know. It like Mike said, it's okay. It's not horrible. I think I laughed out loud in 2 or 3 spots. And other than that, it's competent. I mean, John Landis, whatever you think of him as a person, he's directed 3 of my favorite films. And this, I think after Trading Places, we start to see kind of the slow decline from him into not very sharp, not very clever direction. And he had nothing to do with the script this time, but I don't know. It just seemed very flat and uninspired and nothing like American Werewolf or Blues Brothers or anything like that. So
I figure you just named 2 of your 3 favorites. What's the third? Is it Schlock or Blues Brothers 2000?
Hippie Animal House.
Oh, okay. All right.
Blues Brothers. I was waiting for one of us to make a goddamn Blues Brothers 2000 reference.
And Trading Places isn't one of my favorites, but again, as far as style and direction and humor goes, it's much, much better than this or the next one that we're going to be watching. So I like your background, Chris. How about you, Chris?
This movie seemed like a good idea on paper. I bet everybody was like, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. And then they get Chevy Chase instead. And I'm not saying instead, because I don't dislike Chevy Chase, but he is the weaker of the 2 in this movie in a way that I was thoroughly unprepared for. I want to say I've seen this movie before. I remember bits and pieces of it. I watched it. Must have watched it at some point growing up. If not, this is one of those movies that was on DivX that I saw. For the life of me, I can't help but wonder what this would have been like with the original cast. I don't think it would have been any better. I think that the script for this movie is directionless at best and tonally inconsistent at worst. And I think there are moments in this movie that seems like, oh, they just had a really funny idea. Let's put it in this movie. Like everything with Frank Oz. Let's just put it that way. Like a lot of the early parts of this movie, I feel like are such a kind of wheel spinning attempt at like physical slapstick comedy. And it's not funny. I mean, there's parts of this movie that are just broadly unfunny. And it's disappointing for me because it's Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. I mean, Dan Aykroyd, amazing. Chevy Chase, amazing. Together should have been a knockout. I mean, absolute, knockout hit. And then you got John Landis. I mean, to both y'all's points, like John Landis right now is still John Landis, not now John Landis, where he's got everything that's followed him since, including Blues Brothers 2000, the worst thing he's ever done. I'm kidding. That's not the worst thing he's ever done. But
movie wise, well,
no, still no,
like that.
still no. Technically, that other thing happened on a movie set.
Yeah,
Begley.
I realize that as those words escaped my lips.
Mark Begley, John Landis defender.
No,
Of course not. No. And he doesn't need, I mean, look, Max Landis, John Landis, neither one of them need us defending them. And John Landis is not involved in this the way that I feel like he is involved in some of the other things he's worked on. And that may actually pose part of the problem with where the movie kind of stumbles and fumbles, because how do I put this? We're going to watch another Dan Aykroyd Chevy Chase movie. And it's a 90s. Right. It's a 90s Dan Aykroyd Chevy Chase movie. It is about as unfunny as this movie. And I feel like, now just follow me on this one, part of it is Dan Aykroyd's fault. Because Dan Aykroyd is not known for turning in concise scripts with laser-like focus. He is known for turning in, what was it, like a 300-page script for Ghostbusters?
And as the same or more for Blues Brothers.
Yeah, like some sort of like, what? And it's just like, Dan, what are you trying to do? Solve world hunger and tell a story about two brothers on a trip back to Chicago to save an orphanage? Like, I can't help but wonder how much of this muddle-headedness comes from Dan Aykroyd, because I've seen other Dan Aykroyd joints, as it were, and they always strike me as this. It's like, I bet Dan finds this funny. But you know what I mean? It's like, I bet Dan Aykroyd thinks that this is funny. However, broadly, I don't think most of this movie works. There are a couple scenes that do. The doctor scene is, I think, one of the best scenes in the movie. But that's it. Like, it's like, comes like 20 minutes into the movie is what it feels like. And then you've got another hour and change with this movie. So I don't know. I it's not the worst movie that we've watched for this show by far, but it's definitely not in the top third of the things we've watched. And the biggest disappointment is it should have been John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, and it's Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, which should not feel like a step down. This is still Chevy Chase of the 80s, and yet somehow it feels like a massive step down. And on top of everything else, though the viewer or the listener can't see it, the album cover for the single for Spies Like Us is fucking bizarre, to say the least. It looks like some sort of weird, like, late 70s, early 80s soft, like, adult listening album with the three of them peeking out of a keyhole together. And then on top of everything else, the single for the movie wasn't included on the soundtrack for the movie, which is fucking hilarious and insane in its own right.
That whole thing where John Landis didn't really even want this song. Like, Paul McCartney was like, "Oh, I'm going to do a song for this." And he tells him like way too late. And he's like, where the hell am I going to put this thing? I've already got the opening. The opening is very much set with the way that these credits are. So he ends up just throwing it as the second song during the credits. So like, had you stuck around to see if maybe Samuel L. Jackson's going to show up and offer these guys a job as part of the Avengers, otherwise you're probably not going to hear this song. And then he ends up directing the video, which has the three, Paul McCartney, Chevy Chase, and Dan Aykroyd all over the place in that. I'm like, all right, this little mini adventure that they're going on inside of the studio, and they're pulling off their each other's faces, like they've got masks on, like a Mission Impossible thing. And I'm like, all right, yeah. And it's, I mean, Landis even said it's not a very good song, and I kind of agree with them.
Yeah, it's not. Well,
I mean,
Pierre McCartney, that's for sure.
It would have been better. It would have been better if it had just been Dran, Spies Like Us, Spies Like Us. I mean, it's weird to me that it's a McCartney song. Like, when I was watching the movie last night, I like left it on through the credits, and I was like, okay, I was doing something else. And then all of a sudden I hear this song and I'm like, wait a second, is this Paul McCartney singing? And then, coupling that with the research of like, what, you had a fucking Paul McCartney song and you just tossed it into the end credits of your movie? Like, wow, must be nice to have that in your movie. But the music video for the song is thoroughly astounding in a way that I don't know if y'all have seen the film Dragnet. The song for the film Dragnet has a very similar music video where I believe it's Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks dancing around, but at least there's no Paul McCartney, or it's too bad there's no Paul McCartney. I don't know why Paul McCartney wanted to be involved with this. Like, I really loved Live and Let Die. Let me get involved with some more American action films. Like,
he had fond memories of the Benji song that he did for that. Remember he did a song for that. Or they got one of his songs or something.
Mm-hmm. Let me put to bed a internet rumor that I've read several times, which is that there are 2 pages of the Spies Like Us script that just say doctor, and it's just the people talking to each other. It's not. It's about a half a page and a little extra on the next page. That's how this one is. And then also, I don't know if you guys had a chance to read the script, but the end of the script, pretty amazing. This is after they capture Keyes and Ruby, and they start to say that they were kidnapped. Keyes and Ruby, the American, they're not really the heads of the CIA, but they're the ones kind of running this operation.
one of those guys is going to become a mutant here in a couple of years.
Oh yeah, he's gonna just turn into water on an examination table. Yeah, Bruce Davison. So at the very end of this, page 107 of the screenplay. So this isn't one of those Dan Aykroyd 300 pagers, at least at this point, after Babalu has had his hand in here. Please note, this scene is still to be determined. It will be a happy ending a la Trading Places and millions of other movies in some exotic and amusing locale. Chevy and Dr. Boyer, Danny and the gorgeous Soviet soldier, and the other 4 Russian soldiers are all happy together in some safe, comfortable place. This will obviously be very funny, very satisfying, and the audience will file out of the theater and dutifully tell their friends, we will all make lots of money. Any ideas for this sequence are welcome.
and yet somehow they achieved none of it.
Them playing Trivial Pursuit / Risk at the end of this.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, it's funny, get it? Because the entire nuclear state of the world is determined on them playing Trivial Pursuit and Risk. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha.
Yes, these 4 low-level soldiers and 2 reject spies.
Can we get back to the Frank Oz scene?
Oh my God.
Yes, please, let's go back to the one of the funniest scenes in the film.
Has Chevy had a fart joke before this? Because that really threw me off. I'm like, really?
That's like a Leslie Nielsen thing.
Yeah, that was shocking. But I think you kind of spoke to this already, Chris, and how it seems completely unnecessary. And I just thought they were going to be. I mean, I get that's where they're going to pick these guys, but wouldn't it have been easier to just have that be them at their jobs up to that point? I didn't get the whole thing about the test. Like, it seemed like neither of them had signed up for this test or knew about it, or
what's going on there? What's going on there is that Chevy thinks that, and I'm sorry, I'm going to call him Chevy because these names, these Fitzhuman mill barge names, I'm not having it. Chevy, he thinks that he's going to be able to pass with flying colors, and he's taken the test 3 times already. Hasn't passed it yet. Very sergeant's exam for Wojciechowicz. And his I guess it's his desk partner is like, oh no, they've changed the test completely. Oh, and I know what it is. It's because he's sleeping with his boss and he thinks that she's going to help him pass the test. Yeah. That's what it is. And
why are they taking the test?
They're taking the test to move up to basically like be spies, like because Dan Aykroyd is a civilian contractor and he actually wants to get a job with the government. And then with Chevy, he wants to move up to the next level. And with Aykroyd's character, he has intended on taking this test, but then his boss, who basically has made him his personal slave, is like, oh yeah, good luck on the test tomorrow. Oh, what? Oh, I'm sure I told you the test was tomorrow. Ha, ha, ha. So, yeah, very, very tenuous reason for them to be taking this test.
It didn't. It didn't seem like either of them wanted to or I don't understand why Chevy wants to advance when he seems perfectly fine watching Ronald Reagan movies at his desk.
Well, everybody's watching Ronald Reagan movies, even the guy who's monitoring the little press conference thing that Chevy is doing, which, again, doesn't really make sense. Like, oh, you're stuck doing this. Like, I was hoping for more, like, connection between these scenes. Like, even the idea of them being the fake spies and there's the real spies out there, like, that even doesn't feel like they should really set these guys up for failure or like be monitoring them constantly. It's like when they call and they're like, oh, hey, we're in Pakistan or already or whatever. It's like, oh, wow, these guys are still alive. I'm like, no, you should be monitoring them the whole time and like setting up obstacles and like pointing signs at these guys going like, look at these spies.
You mean like Colonel Rhombus did?
Yes, exactly. Just like Colonel Rhombus.
Colonel Rhombus. Why is Bernie Casey in this movie?
I wish I knew. That whole scene feels very truncated as well.
Yeah. And there are moments in that scene throughout that kind of extended training scene where I'm like, were they just sitting in a room together, stoned and or high off of cocaine, coming up with like, how can we waste the budget of this movie the fastest? Because they have, they put him in the centrifugal force machine. They put him in a airplane that they drop out of this, like, what is it? Radical vertical impact test.
That was one of my LOLs actually when they hit the ground.
I don't know. I mean, that's probably the only one that kind of works. But then we have like then you have to run the obstacle course and it's scorched earth, and then we never see them do it. Like,
right.
It's so
which is in the script, but it's not in the movie. I was like, why is this?
Insurance probably didn't cover Dan and Chevy to do that. No, nor did it cover them to jump out of an airplane night for day and then have them just going, whoa, like I am right now in front of a green screen. No different. They just rotate the footage 360 over and over again because they're falling out of the sky. Yeah, it's like, I don't know who injected the quote, I'm putting it in quotes here, quote, slapstick, unquote, comedy into this movie, but that for me is the worst part of the movie, is the slapsticky nature of it. Because I haven't seen a lot of those Bing Crosby, Bob Hope Road movies or Road 2 movies. And so I'm assuming that that's part of it, is kind of this like slapsticky nature of the two of them. And so I get that that's what they're going for here. I mean, look, we haven't even mentioned it yet. Bob Hope is literally in this movie at one point, and then so is B.B. King. I was like, why is B.B. King in this movie?
Oh, jeez. The amount of cameos in here. I mean,
it's a John Landis film, Mike.
Yeah.
He's friends with everybody.
Yeah.
God, the slapstick of the movie for me really sticks out as the weaker points of an already weak movie in terms of comedy. And on top of everything else, somehow we are still getting Chevy Chase doing the Chevy chasing. I mean, I don't know what you would call that, but it's 85 and he's still doing the bumping into shit, knocking shit over, and that's supposed to be funny. It's like, how many times can we see this guy do this in movies and it's just not funny? It's not that it was never funny. It's just after a while they went to the well. It's like it was Schwarzenegger post Terminator 2. I'll be back just has to be in the movie somehow. And it's like, wait a second. These movies have nothing to do with the Terminator. So why does I'll be back mean, it's because it's Schwarzenegger. Got it. There's some of that here where it's just like, I don't know why we're doing some of the things we're doing in this movie because they just don't work. They just don't work. A lot of this movie doesn't work for me. And like I said, I think broadly, a lot of it is the slapstick comedy. I don't think that the dialogue is poorly written. I mean, clearly the doctor scene is the dialogue scene of this movie that is so kind of memorable. But most of the physical, like slapstick comedy in this movie is really poorly done and just not funny, just not humorous at all. Nothing about the scenarios that they're putting themselves into are even remotely funny.
Oh, the centrifugal force machine, and they're hamming it up with horrible faces. And I'm like, have you not heard of a leaf blower? Blast that on their faces.
Exactly.
Do the Martin Short thing in Inner Space. Don't do this. They're not, I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying a lot of the movie is the problem. It's
It's like, really? We're doing that?
yeah. Well, they're holding
Blast a leaf blower in their faces.
their faces like this.
Oh, yeah, at the end. Here's some coffee.
I'm sure so many little kids dressed up as Emmett Fitzhume and Austin Milbarge for Halloween that year.
It's a great couple's costume, yeah.
I love that. Speaking of Dan Aykroyd's writing, I love that he can't write himself as the bumbling fool. He's always got to be kind of a genius.
Oh, well, yeah. I've worked in the private sector before. They expect results.
I guess except maybe for Blues Brothers. He's not an idiot in that, but he's not a genius either.
Right.
No, but to be fair, he's paired up with God's perfect idiot, John Belushi, which is why he doesn't have to be. And I do wonder how well this movie would have worked with Belushi instead, but I don't think...
I can't see him do it. It must have been written a different way because I can't see him being that way. He sort of approaches that in Neighbors. I mean, he's not bumbling, but he is not the...
they switched roles for Neighbors.
Yeah. He's not the cool guy in Neighbors.
Right.
But it's not a bumbling idiot. It's more of the put upon, hapless working man type of character.
Mm-hmm. Lord loves a working man. Yeah, the thing with Aykroyd at the beginning where he's talking like, oh yeah, I captured this Chinese radio chatter and they were using a 20-point encryption and I solved it with this toy from a box of Lucky Charms. I'm like, okay, where's that coming back in the movie? Like, why is he like, yes, he's the one at the very end when somebody says interception or something. He's like, oh, we can intercept the missile and do this with it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like, I guess you're still pretty smart, but I didn't see that between, minute 5 and minute 1:30. I didn't see that genius coming through here.
He picks out the Russian dudes, the Animal House alum, and
that's true. Yeah. He knows that
the wristwatch.
Russian with wristwatch. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of little instances where he knows something that nobody else does, and there's a show on TV right now with the chick from It's Always Sunny where she plays this genius, and it's the exact same kind of thing where. I know about fake Russian wristwatches for some reason because it goes to the point of the plot of the movie, and this kind of stuff drives me crazy. Sure you do, Dan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Milbarge or whatever your name is.
Yeah,
Austin Milbarge.
It just feels weird to me that they parachute into the training stuff. Like I thought that was them parachuting into like the combat zone, and then when all these fucking ninjas show up.
Literal ninjas. Mike is not joking. They're literal goddamn ninjas.
They show up and then I'm like, okay, so we're in Japan now, but no, we're here. And then we have that little dick fur joke in the middle.
What is the dick fur joke? What is the dick fur joke for?
What's a dick fur?
Yeah, I know. Oh God. It's like, oh my God, this is such a bizarre story, but we had a family friend who used to have this thing on the wall in his office, and it was a lion's doos it. And he would get people to ask, what's that? And what's a doos it? And that's what a lion doos it with, because it was a lion's ball and penis mounted on a board, like taxidermied. Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm like, what? Do you have this one thing in this movie?
Real one?
Yeah, yes, a real one. Yes, a real one. But I didn't understand what the dick for joke was for.
It feels so out of place. Yeah.
It's not even out of place. It's like, why is it in this scene at all?
It reminds me of the mail plane, MALE plane from Three Amigos that we're going to talk about next.
Oh yeah.
Like, how can you tell it's a mail plane? Oh, from the little balls. Like that joke makes no sense in context, but I remember it, and everybody seems to remember the dick fur thing.
We do now. I didn't before rewatching this movie. The only thing I remember from this movie, like the memories of Spies Like Us, the thing that I remember if I like sit and kind of try to like jog my memory of the first time I watched this movie, is the scene where they dress up like aliens, quote unquote aliens.
I'm surprised
All that
that
stuff.
Aykroyd did that without making it 100% scientifically accurate.
Well, yeah, I mean, my grandfather saw aliens in 1912. Dan, we know. Man, I think every time Dan Aykroyd comes up, I will reference the 1.5 hour long video on YouTube of him chain smoking cigarettes in a hotel room in Tahoe somewhere, probably, talking about how much he loves aliens and how much he's into aliens. And that's Dan Aykroyd distilled down to his like base level. I don't understand if is it that people write better for Dan Aykroyd than he writes for himself? Is that what it is? Because my favorite Dan Aykroyd role at this point is him in Dragnet. Because that's a genuinely fantastic Dan Aykroyd role. He walks away with that entire movie. His Sergeant Joe Friday is a perfect like character in that movie. But if memory serves, he didn't write that movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember hating that movie, so I haven't seen it.
God damn it.
Since it was on cable back in the 80s, yeah.
It's funnier than this movie, I'll tell you that much. No, I guess the screenplay was by Dan Aykroyd. God damn it.
Interesting.
But it was based on somebody else's property. So Dan Aykroyd couldn't, inject aliens into a script about 2 cops in LA. Though I'm sure he tried.
It's all about Satan worship instead.
Yeah, Satan worship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He's got kind of when I think about the movies that he's written, it's like a 12-year-old writing a movie. And I think that goes to the length of him and throwing everything in. And when I think about the Blues Brothers, I think there's this patina of innocence around the whole film where it's kind of childlike, but with the right direction and the right person helping you hone it, it works. But here it's like, I don't know, it feels like a kid trying to be smart or something. A lot of his stuff, even Ghostbusters. And I don't know, it's just a weird, everything that he does, it feels to me like it's coming from a child that sort of thinks they're smarter than they are.
Mark, have you ever seen Nothing But Trouble?
No, I haven't.
Oh boy. If you think that this is like a child writing, I'm pretty sure that movie script is written in crayon.
Yeah. The only thing I've seen is the Red Letter Media review of it, and so I've gotten a little taste of it, and I think it reinforces that idea that, like, I don't know, he has a childlike innocence, I guess. Now, is this the movie where he got turned on to vodka? I'm just wondering, being up in Norway and stuff.
Could be.
I got a bottle of his Crystal Skull vodka in the other room, empty, just sitting on a shelf. Mike saw it, and he was like, "Hey, is that Dan Aykroyd's vodka?" Sure is. Mm-hmm. It must be. I think maybe, and this is me here, at least speaking broadly about this movie. Would this movie not have been better if it had kind of been a parody of James Bond movies?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because, like I said before, I've never seen these Road to movies. But Bing Crosby and Bob Hope,
they're performers. They're not spies in those, right?
Right. I think so. But they usually, I think if they are performing, there's probably like intrigue and things going on around them.
Right. Things happening in some form or fashion. So
it's very, from what I remember, it's very Abbott and Costello kind of thing.
Right. So with that in mind, I guess my question to y'all, because again, I'm not alive in 85, are Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase the 80s version of Bob Hope and Bing Crosby in terms of being that famous? Because Bing Crosby and Bob Hope are like American icons and like legends in their own right. Like Bob Hope being in this movie is kind of a big deal. Like his cameo in this movie is, like, I always forget that he is in this movie, even though, like I said, I've seen this movie more than one time. But where he plays through, I was like, wait a second, Bob Hope is... But I think the worst thing you can do in a movie is reference something else that's better, and I've got to assume those Road 2 movies are better than this movie, because there were, several of those films. It was a film series, and this is the one of 2 times that these guys are together on screen, and I guarantee if this movie had been a success, they would have tried to do more with them, but they didn't, because it wasn't at all, really.
I wonder if that was part of the initial idea, though, if that was the idea going, in the script about spies, this will be like a road movie.
Mm-hmm.
or if that came about just because, oh, hey, we're going to 2 different places. Let's make it a road movie. So anybody got Bob Hope's number?
Why not make them performers? Why not just make them Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase then?
Right.
Like really?
That's
like
Ishtar.
But to your point, Chris, I do think that they were pretty. I mean, Aykroyd's coming off Ghostbusters, one of the biggest hits of the decade. And, Chevy's got Vacation behind him, and they're still cashing checks off of Saturday Night Live fame, I think, at that time still even, because that was a cultural phenomenon. So
Right. Which I think I understand that part, but I just they don't feel like the Americana level of actors that Bing and Bob Hope do, and the sorry over and over of it all is a goddamn dead giveaway.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm
so sorry. Yeah.
tomorrow,
Sorry.
Yeah.
it's tomorrow.
I mean, I've got a real ambivalent relationship with Bob Hope because so growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, I mean, whenever he would show up, it was just not funny. Especially those Bob Hope specials that he had. I just maybe they would be funny now if I watched them, but when I was a kid, they were just not funny at all. And it wasn't until I finally saw, what was it, like not the Lemon Drop Kid, because I think we're talking about that one later this year. It's another one with him and so my favorite brunette, maybe, with him and Peter Lorre. And I was like, okay, this is actually funny. And so now I'm like, I have yet to start my Bob Hope journey, but I'm just like, okay, I need other movies like that one to ease me into Bob Hope because I just still had this horrible taste in my mouth. It was kind of like George Burns, because I'm sure, Mark, you remember seeing George Burns show up every fucking place. He had just had like the Oh God movies and things, and 18 Again, which is just edgeable. Yeah, horrible film.
Whoa, guys. Whoa now. 18 Again is so good. Charlie Slatter. Whoa now.
But that was another one where it was just like, finally, when I saw the Burns and Allen show, I was like, oh, this guy was actually legit. Like, he's very funny. Yeah. But by the time he's, in his 80s and stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's not nearly as funny. And at least Burns was playing up the I'm older than God type of thing. Whereas with Bob Hope, he was just like, hey, I'm super smarmy still. I mean, him and Chevy Chase, like, it feels like they're cut from very similar cloth as far as like being a smarmy asshole.
You want a good George Burns film, watch The Sunshine Boys.
Okay.
Later George Burns, him and Walter Matthau.
Oh, that's the one where they robbed the bank, right?
No. Him and Walter Matthau are an old vaudeville comedy act, and they get back together for some TV special, and they've got this long history of hating each other. And that's one of the ones like Foul Play or Murder by Death that my dad and I would watch whenever it came on TV. And I watched it. I've seen it a couple times over the last few years on TCM, and I'm like, oh shit, this still fucking holds up. It's really good. It might be another Neil Simon thing. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So to speak to the road movies of it all, or Road 2 movies, those movies run from 1940 to 1962, with one in 77 getting canceled because of the passing of Bing Crosby. Why are they making a Road 2 movie in 1985?
Oh, when capturing the past. Well, I think they are. That's true. They're
23 movies, 23 years later.
Well, even where it was
not what Bob Hope is in this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
I
think it's an afterthought. I think it's an afterthought, really.
I have a feeling that it is kind of Aykroyd trying to recapture the past, like taking stuff that he enjoyed as a kid and trying to put a new spin on it. Kind of like, I mean, really with Ghostbusters. I mean, there was the original Ghostbusters with, who was it, Forrest Tucker, and I can't even remember who else was in that one, but like, or was it? Yeah, it was Ghostbusters, and then there was Ghost Chasers, and like those movies is what I think inspired the 84 Ghostbusters, but they just took it in a whole different way.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You change your backdrop again, Chris?
Yeah.
To another brilliant shot.
Now I'm sitting with Chevy Chase in the little thing.
Do the faces. Do the faces.
I mean, goddamn Roger Moore did it better in The Man with the Golden Gun. Remember?
Yeah.
Or Moonraker. My God. Even he was doing it. they actually, I think, had him in the thing, maybe, as opposed to this, which was just like, make faces. Ha ha. Funny faces are funny.
Telling you, man.
Well, and they were trying to kill
easily
Roger Moore in that scene.
Right. In this, they're not trying to kill him.
They're just torturing them, but not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
Hey, at least Bernie Casey got to showcase his badassery by taking out all those ninjas.
That's true.
But like you said, Chris, he's not there long enough.
No, and then why is Joel Cohen, Sam Raimi, B.B. King? I'm just still so
Larry Cohen.
Yeah,
Cohen.
Ray Harryhausen.
Costas Gravas. the director of Z, right? Like coming in here.
Yeah.
What?
Yes, exactly. Michael Apted is in here as well. And the movie is produced by Brian Grazer on top of when I saw Brian Grazer's name in the credits at the beginning, I was like, wait a second. Really?
Well, Babalu and the other guy were the writers of Splash and Night Shift, and those were both Ron Howard joints. And here, I guess maybe Grazer was a package deal with those two writers. I don't know.
Well, and then Grazer would go on to produce next year's ever famous Armed and Dangerous, starring John Candy and Eugene Levy. Which
John Candy also from Splash. I almost call it The Last Splash.
And then the year after that would produce Like Father, Like Son, another film that, speaking of 18 going on 80 or 18 again, or whatever the hell the name of that other movie was, another body swap movie.
Why did I watch all of those?
Oh, no, but the fact that you did is the funniest.
I'm going to watch every movie on the list.
Wow.
I don't be a shit anymore.
It was the one time you're just like, I can't do this again.
Yeah, and they don't really, like, this movie is so specific with the political situation that was going on in this particular time.
Right.
Like, it's funny because as I'm watching this, I'm also thinking of things like Real Genius. And, like, I can go back, and Real Genius has that whole thing of, like, like the satellite that's going to, beam the laser down and take out the person. And this one, they've got the satellite that's taking the photos at the beginning. And with Real Genius, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a very specific Star Wars type reference. Star Wars, the strategic defense plan, not Star Wars the movie, but it's a very Star Wars specific time and reference. But yet that one, I can watch that any day of the week still, and it still is funny. Whereas with this one, it's like, okay, we're very particular when it comes to, what's going on in Pakistan, what's going on with the Soviet Union, what's going on with the strategic defense thing. I mean, the whole movie is set up for them to shoot off a missile and then get it taken out with the strategic defense in order to prove that it works, I guess. Yeah. And then it doesn't. So they're like,
which is also the plan?
Which is
exactly.
It's a contingency.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, now we're suddenly in Doctor Strangelove.
Doctor Strangelove. Yeah.
No.
But the numbers have come through, and we're going to lose 10 to 20 million tops. Yeah.
I think
on the brakes.
The whole purpose of this movie was to get to the shot of the MTV satellite exploding and the kid going,
awesome.
Radical. Yeah, boy, John, that was a John Landis. No, we got to get the kids in here. What are the kids like? MTV? All right.
Yeah. Let me ask Max.
Talk about the worst things. Talk about the worst thing John Landis has ever done.
He was born yet because he's thanked at the very end of the credits.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Him and his daughter, I'm assuming Rachel Landis and Max Landis are the last thanks.
So we can blame Max Landis for this ultimately.
Yeah, it'd be really cool is if it blows up a MTV satellite.
Yeah, with a blue light going into the sky at the end. A giant blue laser beam. I mean, it has a giant purple laser beam in space, so not far off, really, I guess. I think the other thing for me that kind of bothers me about this movie is that it in a lot of ways, we've talked about the pairing of Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd. It's almost like the movie thinks that that's enough. That it's just, well, we have Dan Aykroyd, who's funny, and we have Chevy Chase, who's funny. So putting them together will be funny. And I don't get why it doesn't work. But I think it's just, I don't know. I do think it's, man, I want to say it's the script, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel like their personalities mesh well together. Because Chevy Chase's character is very much written the same way he's always written, right? I mean, this is stock and trade Chevy Chase, right? And similarly with Dan Aykroyd. So if they're both playing like very typical versions of the kinds of characters that they play, I guess my kind of biggest critique of the movie is I don't think Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd work well together as comedians in this capacity. I think they work better. I mean, this might have worked better if there had been a third person, a third spy that was with them. You know,
a third amigo, as it were.
As one might say. Yes. A third amigo, as it were. But I mean, even his chemistry with them in that movie is light years better than this here.
Is it? Is it?
You know what, Mark? Let me put it this way.
Night Jury's still out. I haven't seen that one since I saw it at the theaters.
I haven't seen Three Amigos since I watched it on DivX as a kid. I could do the whole I could do the My Little Buttercup routine almost by heart, but I don't remember much else from the movie other than El Guapo.
I just remember, would you say I have a plethora of them?
It was on TV the other day, and my wife was like, "Oh, are you going to be watching this one?" I'm like, "Yes, very soon, so let's not get into it." And we watched a good chunk of it.
You did anyway.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's not much better.
Oh, dear.
The chemistry is not much better.
Oh, no.
Mm.
Oh, but at least they're wearing those great. But they're wearing those great outfits, though.
Yeah,
I mean, they're wearing pretty great outfits in this movie. To be fair, I mean, those outfits that they're on the poster is
in the snow. Yeah,
yeah.
That's why I always think it takes place in the snow, like The Spy Who Loved Me or something.
Some of it does. Why? And I guess the other thing, and this feels like this is just a me thing. You have James Doughton in your movie, and he's woefully underused because he's so good in Animal House as Greg Marmalade. And then here they just have him show up for 2 scenes. And I was like, man, really? Like I was
surprised to see him. I don't know if I've seen him in anything else other than Animal House and this.
He's in a couple things, but it's not a whole lot of things.
He's not like William Babka, who showed up in everything in the 80s, at least. Mm-hmm. So good old Billy was in our last movie for 2 seconds.
No, James Doughton is on his IMDb. He's known for this, National Lampoon's Planet of the Apes, the TV series, and the TV series.
Did you say National Lampoon's Planet of the Apes?
Yeah. I did National Lampoon's. I should have said Animal House, but National Lampoon's Planet of the Apes would also be a great film.
Yeah.
Let's get Paul
Williams back. It's Van Wilder coming to the POTA universe.
Yeah. Let's get Paul Williams back too.
Paul Williams, the singer, songwriter, actor.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Because wasn't he in Planet of the Apes?
Yes, he was. He was Cyril. Yeah.
I just want Paul Williams to do something with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, that would be awesome.
We haven't talked about Donna Dixon. Come on.
She's Mrs.
Third Amiga.
Yeah.
She's the third amigoid.
Or Charles McCune, who, from Charles McCune's voice, I kept thinking he was Nigel, the guy from not Real Genius, sorry, the other Val Kilmer film. Top Secret. He sounded like he was from Top Secret. Yeah. But then I was like, oh no, this Charles McCune, he's like a standard for all of these Monty Python movies. Like he was in every Python that you can think of. And I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, what a thankless job he has. Just come in, introduce these guys, and then you see him dead on a horse later on.
I was surprised that he got taken out, actually.
Yeah, me too. Okay. I really liked him.
Well, speaking of, we haven't even mentioned Terry Gilliam is also just in this movie.
One of the other
Doctor
cameos.
Doctor, yeah.
Here's a funny bit of trivia for you, Chris. In particular, I was curious to see, because I haven't heard anything, if Donna Dixon and Dan Aykroyd were still married, and apparently they're separated at this point, and they've had a slew of kids. And one of their daughters, is a musician who goes by Vera Solo or something like that. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I looked on her Wikipedia page, and apparently she performed a bunch and recorded with Elvis Perkins,
Oh.
the brother of Oz Perkins.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know that last
One of the
name.
sons of Anthony Perkins. And I was like, oh, that's weird.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
weird connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's all I can think of when I think of Oz Perkins now. God damn it. God.
I was like, oh, wild. And they were they were friends growing up. So
Fucking Nepo babies.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
of
it is.
them.
It is weird that Donna Dixon's in this. At the time, she is with Aykroyd, but yet she's the love interest
Chevy's-
for Chevy
yeah.
Chase. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is kind of an interesting situation here. Okay.
Which also kind of makes no sense because her and Chevy Chase have no chemistry.
None.
Yeah.
No.
like they have negative chemistry. Like the
Yeah.
chemistry in the other direction.
Well, it's not even one of those where she starts off hating him and then gradually grows to enjoy him because he's just despicable the entire time. And the way that they fuck up the surgery and kill the Sheikh's son or whoever, I'm like, what the heck? That
was-
plays differently in the script, though. I have to say they basically kill him with the anesthetic. They give him like a ton of anesthetic and it kills him. Whereas in this one, I don't think they give him anesthesia at all, or he's already been drugged.
He's already been
Right.
anesthetized. Yeah.
So they kind of
Well,
cut out them murdering this poor guy.
That was like the test scene to me. Like, this is going on way too long.
Mhm.
Why do they have to be mistaken for doctors? Why, it's not like everywhere they go there's a case of mistaken identity that throws them into more danger. It's like just this, and it just seemed unnecessary.
Oh, and they get away so easily.
Right, and then they just kind of walk away.
Yeah, like if there's going to be a chase scene in this movie, this is the time for the chase scene.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, do like a James Bond thing. Like, we have James Bond ski chases are like a thing.
Right.
In the James Bond. We've literally had up until this point on Rankin on Bond, how many ski chases, Mike? 3?
At least 3, yeah.
I just don't understand why the Road 2 movies were the inspiration here. With the title like Spies Like Us, it should have been like a James Bond parody buddy cop movie. Like it really should have. Like, I don't know if that would have worked any better. Probably wouldn't have. But at least there would have been more than just the fumbling and the bumbling around, which is what it feels like we get a lot of. Which is all like we both bumble around into these scenarios by accident. It's like Frank Drebin on steroids, except not funny. God, I wish Leslie Nielsen was in this movie.
They should both think that they're the James Bond in the scenario.
Right.
End up, fucking things up even more, or one of them pulls it through at the end and then switch roles throughout, and
maybe have the bomb that's about to detonate at the end of the movie end in 007 just as a cheeky little wink and a nod. No, it's instead they're referencing like traditional Americana films, which in 85, I guess somebody wanted. I don't know who. Dan Aykroyd.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Thomas, which we've already talked about once, but I think it does bear a little bit kind of talking out. So Dave Thomas, known for being one half of Bob and Doug McKenzie with Rick Moranis from SCTV, is story by credit with Dan Aykroyd. Was this
2 Canadian fellas hanging out writing movies
about American spies?
Mm-hmm.
As you do. I've got to wonder where the story idea started and then where the script execution went the other direction. Because I've got to assume that the original story had more to it than this ends up having. Because it does ultimately feel like we have them just kind of fucking around for about 45 minutes and then finally getting to the Russian missiles, and then they fuck around there for like a half an hour is what it feels like. And then the movie's over. And there's a 30-minute training montage, essentially, like where they go take the test and then they go meet Bernie Casey. Like, if that's what those Road 2 movies were like, great. But I can't imagine those Road 2 movies were like that because there were like 7 of them. There was not more than one of these, thankfully. God, can you Spies Like Us 2? We're back.
Well, even the title is pretty dumb. I mean, it comes from them realizing that Donna Dixon and Charles McEwen are spies like us. I'm like, oh, that's where you got the line from? Okay.
Hey, that's the name of the movie.
Hey,
Yeah, that's speaking of Brian Grazer and Ron Howard. That's what I think of whenever anyone says the name of the thing in the thing I'm watching. Just the Ron Howard Arrested Development cut in. Hey, that's the name of the show. Like,
oh really?
yeah, because in Arrested Development, it's like, hey, that's the name of the show. Like, hey, that's the name of the movie. Like, yeah, we know they're spies. Like, whatever.
I can't remember who it is. I read about some group of friends that whenever somebody says the name of the movie in the movie, they stand up in the theater and applaud. And so whenever I kind of do that, I don't stand up, but when I'm on my couch and I hear somebody say the name of the movie, I'm just like, yes. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Those are the titular Spies Like Us.
Yes, they sure are, in fact, spies like us.
And by that point, Charles McCune's already dead.
So one spy is like us.
Yes. Spy like us. She spy like us.
So let's speak to the John Landis of it all. Obviously, not talking about him murdering Vietnamese children. What, in the grand scheme of John Landis's film career, obviously after what is where the line is drawn with the movies that people like? Is it Coming to America? I don't mind Oscar. I actually think Oscar is quite fun. But is it like John Landis never really made it out of the 90s or out of the late 80s, early 90s? Because that's, looking at his filmography, that's kind of the way it feels. Because one of my favorite movies is An American Werewolf in London, which, I mean, is a genuine classic and a almost damn near perfect film, I would say, in a lot of ways. Similarly to Animal House and Blues Brothers. I often say, Ridley Scott, he has 2 great movies back to back, and then that's about it. John Landis has 3 classics back to back to back with Animal House, Blues Brothers, and American Werewolf in London. And then if you go one step further, Trading Places comes next. He does Coming Soon, which is a documentary in between Werewolf in London and Trading Places. But those are 4 real classics. And then I guess we watched the Kentucky Fried Movie, years ago now? And
I like Kentucky Fried Movie.
And yeah, it's it's pretty good too. I mean,
Kentucky not really his property, but
no. But John, is this the peak of John Landis here, like the 80s, and then the 90s are just kind of like?
I mean, you've got End of the Night prior to this, which is okay.
I've never seen that one.
I remember liking it. One. Yeah, it's with Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Pfeiffer, and a bunch of cameos, including John Landis himself.
Wow.
I remember liking it.
Where do you think Quentin Tarantino got it from, Mike?
Does he do cameos?
Who? God damn it.
And then you've got this film, Three Amigos, segments in Amazon Women on the Moon. And then I think the next one is Coming to America. So I think after that, it's kind of all downhill. I haven't seen Innocent Blood, or maybe I have.
Oh, it is not good. I rewatched that one a few years ago, and it is not good.
I don't remember much about that. Beverly Hills Cop 3.
I just remember Innocent Blood feeling very grungy and dirty.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Way.
It has Tony Sirico in it, though, Mike.
And Rocco Sisto.
And Tony Lip and David Proval, who are all in The Sopranos, playing gangsters in that movie, apparently. Good Lord.
I think after Coming to America, which is 88, into the 80s, you're kind of done. There's a lot of TV and stuff after that.
Like you, Chris, I do enjoy Oscar. At least I remember really liking it. I haven't seen it since it was at the theater. But I would say probably somewhere around this time, around that time, I should say, is the end of Landis for me.
Yeah, I don't see anything on here that I particularly care for.
You're not a big Beverly Hills 3 fan, The Stupids.
I watched The Stupids a lot growing up.
Is it any good? I actually downloaded it.
I don't remember. It's actually something I'd be willing to revisit because I'm such a huge fan of Tom Arnold, drug dealer. Tom Arnold, oxycodone dealer. So I don't remember, really. I feel like it might be funny for the reason it's attempting to be funny, which is like, these characters are all complete morons. But I also know that kind of movie can tend to get grating with some people where it's like Dumb and Dumber on steroids. essentially, like, these characters are dumb beyond the belief of real human beings able to exist, that don't need to be told to breathe air every second of their lives. But yeah, it's just, just thinking of John Landis, I think we think of John Landis as someone who's directed a lot of great movies, but kind of stopped directing good movies after a while.
Yeah.
And it hasn't done a good one since the late 80s.
I will say that I did like the Mr. Warmth documentary he did about Rickles, but that's a documentary. It's not like it's a narrative film.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I enjoyed that too, but I'm just a fan of Don Rickles. So yeah. So put Don Rickles in this movie. Put anybody in this movie. Get somebody who's funny in this movie. Oh wait, you did. Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase, who should be funnier than they are. So I would say to both of y'all, because this is obviously a Chevy Chase podcast, to speak specifically about Chevy Chase with what we've seen up into this point. I think we should do this on every episode at this point. What do we think of Chevy Chase specifically in this movie? Because he is the reason that we are here. That's the name of the show, right? Like, this is a Chevy Chase thing.
It's one of those typical Chase roles where he's smug and bumbling and ineffectual. The only line that I laughed of his was, "You have a tent?" at the very end of the movie. Just the delivery of it was perfect to me.
Yeah, this feels like a real typical Chevy Chase thing. You do have the bumbling stuff, him, even when he's has Donna Dixon in the tent and he's tripping over things and tripping this way and having a hard time sitting down, or the thing where he goes up and just puts his hand on her boob. Like, some of those things, I'm like, okay, this is very, very Chevy Chase. And I think I just don't like pure uncut Chevy Chase going up my nose.
Yeah, I feel like he's doing exactly what he's done in other things, and we've enjoyed him doing those things in the other things we've seen him in. It's just here, I think it kind of feels like all it is, as opposed to like part and parcel of whatever it is we're seeing. Like the concept of Fletch or the concept of National Lampoon's Vacation were so strong that they kind of worked with Chevy Chase's inherent comedic stylings. Here, it just doesn't, he's not believable. Dan Aykroyd is more believable than Chevy Chase is in this movie, in terms of being like a put upon civil servant. Like, Dan Aykroyd is a put upon civil servant in this movie. So is Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase there's nothing about him in this movie that strikes me as comedic. Or even, it's not even comedic, because he doesn't seem like he's trying, but I'm not sure at this point he really felt like he had to, given that he's, 1985 Chevy Chase. But I don't think the movie would have hurt itself. I don't think the movie would have helped itself by casting someone other than Chase. I just think Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd's two things don't work well together. And honestly, I'm not even sure if Chevy Chase paired up with somebody else really works that well. I think Chevy Chase on his own might be enough. And in a lot of ways, I think the best things that we've seen him in, he is kind of the comedic rod of the movie, and everybody else is around him. Vacation, Fletch. I mean, those are some of the, Foul Play. Like, there's not, in Foul Play, it's him and Goldie Hawn. It's not him, another male actor, and Goldie Hawn. That's, seems like
out Brian Dennehy. You're dismissing Brian Dennehy in Foul Play, sir.
Sorry. But I'm speaking more like,
he's not in it that much.
Seems Like Old Times had Charles Grodin in it, and that's lesser than Foul Play. I think, a little lesser. I think for me, Chevy Chase does work best kind of as a solo act. And
I'm sure he would agree.
Oh, yes. Get all these other fake comedians out of my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the real deal.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just that's my thoughts anyways on Chevy Chase in this movie. So
I think that's a valid point.
Yeah. I think I think he likes to be the star of the vehicles, as they were.
I think so too. Mm-hmm. I think he would agree. I'm glad those Russian guys found true love at the end of the film.
Nice.
Yeah. There's a very completely out of left field gay moment in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right. John Landis, everybody. He's a fan of the queer community, and he's a good ally, I'm sure.
And he's never manslaughtered anybody.
It allegedly. It was not caught on camera on anything. I'm just kidding. Mike proceeds to share link in YouTube in chat to YouTube.
You might want to cut that out.
No. I was just like, well, I'm pretty sure there was a trial, and I'm pretty sure this was around the time of the trial. They were really throwing him a bone to be like, come on, John, you can help us out here with this. We'll give you a job.
Yeah. You're not mired in legal problems or anything. Are they threatening to take your car, John? Come direct some movies for us.
I mean, October 1984, the NTSB issued its report about the accident. So this was right around that time when this was being wrapped up. Landis, Folsey, Wingo, production manager Allingham, and explosive specialist Paul Stewart were tried and acquitted on charges of manslaughter in a 10-month trial in 1986 and 87. They were acquitted. So why are you guys ragging?
See what I mean? That's why I said allegedly. Because he was acquitted. There's no fault. Those Vietnamese children went under that helicopter and it landed on top of them by choice. It's no one's fault.
Oh, don't forget McMorrow.
I was Oh God, boy. Father Malone, if you're listening to this, you're welcome. He hates when we bring up John Landis and then proceed to reinforce that John Landis, not a great person. Well, speaking of that, on the next episode of the Chasing Chevy podcast, we're going to be talking about another John Landis directed film starring Chevy Chase, Steve Martin, and Martin Short, which one of those people I'm sick and tired of seeing recently for good reason. Mike White. The Martin Short of it all, Mike. How dare you? More Martin Short for everyone. We'll be talking about Three Amigos. So until then, where can people find you and the things that you work on? Mark Begley?
You can find my shows Wake Up Heavy and Cambridge and Sean over on weirdingwaymedia.com. How about you, Mike White?
Same thing, weirdingwaymedia.com. That's where all of my stuff is at, except for the one thing that Chris and I work on with Richard Haddam, which is available on our Patreon, which is Rankin' on Bond, where once a month we talk about James Bond films and talk about, ski chases and G-forces and all those kind of things, and pigeons that do double takes. It's pretty good. That's over at patreon.com/projection booth and patreon.com/Kulturecast. Find it there. And how about you, Chris?
Weirding Way Media is where you can find this show and so many other shows. If you are a fan of what we do here, go check out everything else that we do because you might vibe with it as well. Like, rate, and review any content that you get however you get it. Be it on YouTube, subscribe and smash that like button, or on iTunes, like and subscribe, please. It helps us out. It feeds the algorithm what the algorithm wants. And that helps us find our audience. Patreon.com, like Mike said, is another great way to interact with us financially if that's something that you feel like we add to your life in a financial way. Thank you so much for listening, and make sure to come back for the next episode where we talk about yet another film made by a guy who killed people. Allegedly. Acquitted.
Now he's never going to do an interview.
He did one with me once.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.